The Forbidden Planet. Every alien child grew up with the same story. A planet covered in blue and green. A place full of chaos, fire, and war. They called it Earth. And they were told one thing. Never go there. Never wake the humans. Silak was young, curious, and proud. He was not like the others. He didn't believe in ghost stories. He believed in facts. He believed in proof. So when his scanners picked up a strange signal from a dead zone in space, he followed it. The signal was weak but clear. It came from Earth. His commander warned him. His ship's AI warned him. But Silak ignored them all. He set a course straight for the Forbidden Planet. The journey took 6 days. As he neared Earth, the stars seemed quieter. Even the normal space traffic stayed far away. It felt like the galaxy was holding its breath. Silak's ship entered orbit. The planet below looked calm. Too calm. No lights. No movement. Only clouds floating over broken cities and deep forests. He landed near what once was a great city. Ruins stretched in all directions. Tall buildings were broken, covered in vines. Silence ruled everything. No wind, no animals, not even the hum of machines. This is not death, Silak said to himself. This is sleep. His scanner beeped. Life signs, very faint. Deep underground. He followed the signal through a cracked road and into a hidden tunnel. The path led him to a huge metal door, old human tech still locked tight. He used his tools to cut through. Inside was a dark hall filled with thick dust and rows of glass pods. Silak stepped closer. Inside each pod, a human lay still. Some were male, some female. Their bodies were perfect, untouched by time. They looked like they were only resting. He felt fear for the first time. His hand hovered over the glass. He shouldn't touch it. He remembered the law. Do not wake the sleepers. But he had already come this far. His fingers touched the pod. Nothing happened. Then, the lights blinked. One pod began to glow. The human inside opened her eyes. Silak froze. He couldn't move. The woman inside looked straight at him. Her eyes were sharp, awake, and focused. She didn't scream. She didn't panic. She simply stared at him and whispered something. His translator clicked. The words came clear. How long? Silak stepped back. The other pods remained dark. Only this one was active. Who are you? He asked, voice shaking. The woman inside sat up slowly. She placed one hand on the glass. It opened with a soft hiss. She stood. Her movements were smooth, her skin pale from sleep. She looked around, the chamber like she remembered every corner. This place, she said, has been silent for too long. Silak tried to speak, but no words came. The woman turned to him. You broke the seal. You touched the glass. You woke me. I didn't mean to, Silak said. But you did, she answered. Silak's ship sent a message. Weak, full of static. The signal was being blocked. Why is this place sealed? Silak asked. The woman tilted her head. You really don't. No? He shook his head. She looked at the other pods. Because the galaxy made a deal. Put us to sleep, lock us away, and forget we ever existed. Why? Silak asked again. Softer this time. Because they feared what we might become, she said. And now you've woken me. Outside, the winds began to rise. For the first time in hundreds of years, Earth moved again, and deep in the shadows, more pods began to glow. The first to wake. The silence was broken. A soft humming echoed through the ancient chamber. Glowing lights blinked above the sleeping pods. The air inside the underground room became warm again, like the planet itself was breathing for the first time in ages. Silak stood frozen. The human woman now stood outside her pod. Tall, calm, her dark hair fell loosely over her shoulders. Her eyes looked alive, but far too quiet, like she was thinking of something long buried. What is your name? Silak finally asked, his voice low. She looked at him without fear. Commander Elena Black. The title made him shiver. Commander, Not civilian, not scientist. This was a warrior, a leader, and she remembered everything. How long was I asleep? She asked again, her tone sharper now. About 6,000 years, Silac whispered. Elena turned to face the long rows of sleeping humans behind her. She took a deep breath, almost like smelling the air of war again. So they really forgot us, she said. Good. Maybe that will give us the time we need. Silac didn't understand. You were put to sleep to protect the galaxy. That's what we were taught. Your kind was dangerous. You destroyed entire empires. You couldn't be stopped. So, they made peace by putting you to sleep. Elena didn't laugh. She didn't get angry. She simply stared at him. They feared what they couldn't control, she said. We stopped ourselves, not for peace, for mercy. Mercy? Silac blinked. Yes. The galaxy was too young, too soft. We had already seen what humans could become. So we stepped away. We slept. Not because they defeated us, but because we didn't want to become something worse. Her words made Silac feel small. A new noise came from behind them. Another pod beeped. Then another. Elena spun around, her face serious now. You triggered the chain. One pod was the key. Now the others will follow. How many will wake? Silac asked. Not all, she said. Only those linked to the early command lines. Fighters, leaders, tacticians. Silac's heart raced. We have to stop it. I didn't mean... Elena cut him off. It's too late. They'll come. Who? She looked up, as if she could hear something beyond the ceiling. The Watchers, they always listen. When a human wakes, they feel it. What will they do? They will try to kill me, Elena said simply. And then you. Before Silac could speak, a strange pressure filled the chamber. The lights flickered again. Outside, above the ground, space bent. A black ship, long and thin like a blade, came out of nothing. It hovered high over the city ruins, completely silent. Not built for transport, not built for rescue. It was a hunter. Inside the underground room, Elena moved fast. She stepped to a wall panel, wiped off dust and pressed, her hand into a glowing circle. The base rumbled. Weapons rack slid open. What are you doing? Silac asked. Preparing, she said. This was a rest chamber, not a tomb. She grabbed a black rifle. Old human design. Still perfect. I'm not here to fight, Silac said. Too bad, she replied. You woke me. Now you live with the storm. The ground shook again. Outside, the hunter ship charged its weapons. Silac turned toward the pods. 2 more were opening. A tall man stepped out of one. His body looked built for war. Next came a woman with cybernetic eyes and a blade on her arm. Both nodded at Elena without a word. Silac felt the fear spreading in his chest. It was not because the humans were angry. It was because they looked so calm. What now? He asked. Elena looked at the ceiling. Now we remind the stars who we are. She remembers everything. Elena stood tall in the center of the cryo chamber. The low red lights behind her cast long shadows across her face. She held the rifle in one hand, steady and ready, as if it had never left her side, even after 6,000 years. The other humans who had awakened stood in silence around her. 4 now. 2 male, 2 female, all strong, all focused, no panic, no fear. Silac couldn't understand it. How do you all remember so much? He asked. After so long, shouldn't your minds be lost? Elena turned her eyes to him. We trained for this. Trained to sleep? No, she said. Trained to wake. Her words echoed in the chamber. Silac stepped closer. But why? Why sleep at all if you were this ready? Elena looked toward the glowing control panel. Because we were becoming something worse than monsters. When the war ended, we had a choice. Rule the galaxy by force, or walk away. Most wanted revenge. I chose mercy. And those who followed me agreed. Silak swallowed. And now that you're awake? Elena turned to the other humans. Now we finish what we started. Before Silak could ask what she meant, the wall behind them lit up. A holographic screen flickered to life. Old Earth systems had connected to his ship's signal. Images appeared, live footage from above the surface. The hunter ship was moving. Black and silent, it now hovered directly above the chamber entrance. Its weapons were aimed down. They're here, Silak whispered. Yes, Elena said. The Watchers. They were always watching us, even in sleep. But they fear you, Silak said. They fear the truth, Elena replied. Because the truth is simple. We were the only species that ever looked into the heart of war and chose to walk away. The hologram blinked again. More hunter ships were entering Earth's orbit. They won't talk, will they? Silak asked. Elena shook her head. They've already made their decision. She walked toward the exit hatch of the underground base. The others followed her. No one said a word. Their movements were smooth, like they had rehearsed this moment, in a dream. Silak followed, unsure why. When they reached the surface, the world above had changed. Dust storms twisted across the broken city. The sky was filled with black shadows like ships, drones, watchers, all armed. Elena raised her hand. The ground near them opened. Ancient turrets lifted from beneath the earth. They rotated slowly, their sensors locking onto targets above. Those systems still work? Silak asked, shocked. Elena gave a small smile. We built things to last. A sudden voice spoke from above. It came through Silak's comms. You have violated Code Omega. Human life must remain sealed. Retreat now, or be erased. Elena raised her rifle and spoke clearly into the air. This is Commander Elena Black. Earth is no longer silent. We are awake, we are aware, and we will not go back to sleep. There was no response. Only a long, cold silence. And then, from the sky, the first energy beam came down. It struck the city's edge, exploding buildings into ash. They've made their move, Elena said calmly. Now we make ours. She aimed at the hunter ship. Above. Fire. The old turret screamed to life. They unleashed blinding bolts of energy straight into the sky. The first hunter ship spun, cracked, and shattered into a fireball. Silak stared in horror and awe. He had never seen anything like it. The precision, the power. The humans weren't just waking up, and they were taking back control. What happens now? He asked softly. Elena stepped beside him, eyes locked on the sky. Now the galaxy remembers why it was told to fear us. Signals across the stars, the explosion lit the sky. Fire rained down from the broken hunter ship, its remains crashing into the ruined city below. A thick black cloud spread across the horizon. Inside it, glowing red sparks danced like falling stars. Silak couldn't move. He had never seen anything like this. Not just the destruction, but how calm the humans were. They didn't cheer, they didn't panic. They simply watched. That was only the first, Elena said, eyes locked on the burning wreck. More will come. How many? Silak asked. Elena didn't answer. Behind her, the other awakened humans began working fast. One of them, a tall woman with silver lines running across her skin, pulled open a control panel built into the side of a ruined tower. Screens flickered on. Old systems began to hum. Signal is clear, she said. Broad-range pulse ready. Elena nodded. Send. A deep tone echoed through the air. A pulse wave. It spread across the planet like a ripple in water. Silent, but strong. Somewhere far above, it reached the edge of Earth's orbit, and then went farther. It touched the satellites still floating in deep space. Old human satellites, silent for centuries, suddenly blinked to life. And then, without warning, the signal leapt into the stars. Across the galaxy, ancient systems lit up. Machines long thought dead began transmitting, encrypted human codes, Deep military channels and emergency protocols started broadcasting from hidden locations all over space. The message was short. Simple. Earth has awakened. We are back. In the central hall of the Galactic Council, the lights dimmed. The High Chancellor of the Zilari Empire rose from his seat, his tendrils shaking. What was that? He hissed. A thin, robotic officer stepped forward. A human code, very old, activated from Earth's surface. The chamber fell silent. I want a response, the Chancellor snapped. There is no response. They're not talking, just broadcasting. Then send a fleet. Across council space, ships began to move. But not everyone was angry. Some were afraid. Others remembered stories, forbidden ones, stories of human ships moving like shadows, stories of soldiers that didn't stop even when burned, stories of a species that had chosen sleep, not out of weakness, but out of restraint. In one forgotten corner of space, an old warrior alien sat in a metal chair, staring at the blinking light on his terminal. His hands shook. They're back, he whispered. I thought they'd never wake. On Earth, Elena watched the skies. Silak stood beside her, face pale. You've sent the signal to everyone? Yes, she replied. To those who followed us, to those who feared us, to those who betrayed us. What if they all come? He asked. She turned to him. Then they'll see. Beneath them, more pods began to open. Every few minutes, another human awoke. Some confused, some alert, but all of them quiet, like they knew they had waited long enough. Elena led them through what remained of the command center. Deep in the underground vaults, giant machines began to stir. Old mechs, long-range weapons, dark armor lined with strange glowing runes, all of it human-made, all of it untouched for centuries. You kept all this hidden? Silak asked. We never threw anything away, Elena said. We just hit pause. In the sky, more hunter ships appeared. Dozens now. They formed a blockade around Earth. Elena watched the scanners. Her face was calm, but her fingers tightened around her weapon. They'll land soon, she said. They'll try to contain us before we spread. And what will you do? Silak asked. Elena looked him in the eyes. I will remind them that we're not the ones who need to be contained. The ground shook. Far off in the distance, an ancient launch bay opened. From the earth rose a massive warship, black and silver, shaped like a spear. Its engines roared like thunder. Elena's voice echoed through the halls. This is not a return, this is a warning. The truth about humanity. The warship rose slowly from the ground, surrounded by dust and roaring engines. It was massive, larger than anything Silak had ever seen. Its smooth black surface reflected the red light of the setting sun. No markings. No flags. Just silence and power. Elena watched it from the broken control tower, arms crossed, her face carved in stone. Silak stood beside her, still trying to understand everything. What is that ship? He asked. Her name is Obsidian Dawn, Elena said softly. She was the last ship we ever built before the long sleep. Why build something like that and never use it? Elena looked at him. Because we didn't want to win the wrong war. Silak paused. What do you mean? She turned to him fully now, her voice lower. When the last great war began, we were ready to destroy everything, not just enemies. Planets, stars, entire systems. We had the tools, we had the mind, but in the middle of it something happened. What? We saw ourselves. Not as protectors, not as warriors, but as monsters. We were winning. Too easily. Too completely. We looked into the eyes of those we fought, and realized we had become their nightmares. So you just stopped? Yes. We ended the war. Not because they asked for peace, but because we did. We saw what we were becoming and we stepped back. Silak struggled to process it. But no one in the galaxy knows that. They weren't supposed to, she said. The truth would have made them feel weak. Instead, we let them believe they forced us into sleep. It made them feel safe. It gave them hope. He stared at her. You let the galaxy write a lie? Elena nodded. It was a kinder story. Outside, the obsidian dawn hovered silently. More humans gathered at its base, entering its lower decks. No orders were given. They moved with purpose, like soldiers returning to duty. And now? Silac asked. Will you go to war again? Elena looked up at the stars. Only if we must, but this time we will not hold back. A loud alarm suddenly blared through the command center. A red warning flashed on the walls. Unauthorized boarding detected. Elena's face changed instantly. They've sent infiltrators, she said. She grabbed her rifle and started running. Silac followed, heart racing. They reached the lower tunnels quickly. The lights were dim. Steam hissed from broken pipes. Footsteps echoed in the distance. Not human. In the shadows, 3 alien figures moved silently. Black armor, glowing eyes, long blades in their hands. They had made it into the base. Elena raised her hand and the lights flashed white. The infiltrators froze, blinded just long enough. Shots rang out. Quick, sharp, perfect. 2 went down. The third tried to escape, but ran straight into a trap set by another awakened human. The intruder hit the floor hard, captured. Elena walked to the alien, placed her boot on its chest. Who sent you? She asked. It hissed back. We were ordered to end the threat before it spreads. You're too late, Elena said. It's already spreading. They fear you, it spat. They should, she whispered. The alien was dragged away. Silac stood there, stunned. They're willing to break all galactic laws just to stop you. They're scared. Of course they are, Elena said. We are the unknown they buried, and now we've returned. With memory, with purpose, and with the power to finish what we never started. As they walked back to the upper level, the obsidian dawn opened its wings fully. Engines glowed beneath its hull, and far above, other human signals answered Earth's call. Hidden fleets, buried colonies, sleeping outposts. The awakening had only begun. Warships rise again. The Earth trembled. From deep oceans, forgotten deserts, and shattered mountain bases, massive human warships began to rise. They had slept beneath the surface for thousands of years, quiet, hidden, and untouched by time. They weren't rusted. They weren't broken. They were waiting. Each ship was different in shape, but all carried the same message. Humanity had not been destroyed. They had been preparing. Silac stood on a metal platform outside the command tower, eyes wide as the sky filled with movement. The obsidian dawn hovered above him, its engines leaving trails of blue fire as it circled the awakening. Fleet, how many ships are there? Silac whispered. Elena stepped beside him, holding a small handheld device showing dots across the globe. Over 200, she said, and more still buried. How is that possible? Silac asked. How could the galaxy miss all of this? Because they never wanted to see it, Elena said. They told themselves a lie and covered their eyes. Above them, human pilots entered the ships. Systems came online with soft hums and cold voices. Weapons primed, shields activated. I-programs once silent spoke again in tones cold and calm. Status: human command authority restored. Mission: defend, protect, remind. Far above Earth, alien fleets now filled the sky. More than 100 council ships orbited the planet. Dreadnoughts, destroyers, hunter cruisers. They had come in full force, not to talk, but to crush. The first warning shot came from orbit. A pulse beam aimed at one of the rising ships near the ocean. It struck. The water exploded into steam. The Earth shook. But when the fire cleared, the human ship still stood, untouched. Its shields held. It turned slowly and fired back. The beam that left its cannon cut through the clouds. It hit the Council warship in orbit. That ship didn't just explode. It vanished. Direct hit, a human pilot reported. Elena looked up at the sky. They didn't learn last time. Maybe this time they will. Inside the command center, other humans worked quickly. Dozens more had awakened and were now rebuilding old systems. They restored communication satellites, deep space relays, and power grids across the Earth. "Commander," said a voice behind Elena, "we've received signals from the edge of the Orion sector. Human outposts are waking up. They got our call." "Any ships with them?" she asked. "Not many, but they're coming." Silek stepped closer. "So, you're not alone?" Elena looked at him. "We were never alone. Across the galaxy, ancient human colonies hidden inside asteroid belts, frozen moons, and gas giants began to activate. Those who had stayed behind to watch and wait now knew the signal had come. Some of them were warriors. Some were builders. All of them remembered Earth, and they were returning. "But if this turns into a war," Silak asked, "won't the whole galaxy burn?" Elena's eyes narrowed. "Only if they force us to light the match." Suddenly, a warning flashed on the main screen. "Multiple enemy ships breaking orbit, incoming." Elena turned fast. "Launch the Obsidian Dawn. It's time." The ship responded instantly, rising higher, engines glowing brighter. Other human warships followed it. Like a fleet of sleeping giants returned to life, they rose together and pointed toward the sky, toward the stars that once turned their backs. Silak could barely breathe as he watched the ships form perfect attack lines. Their weapons were charged but still not firing. "You're giving them one last chance," he realized. Elena nodded. "We always do." A message was sent. Short. Final. "Earth has awakened. Stand down, or be reminded." No reply came. The alien ships moved closer and Elena gave the order. "Fire." The sky turned white. "The galaxy will remember." The sky turned white. Human warships fired in perfect silence. Beams of light shot upward with such precision that it looked like the Earth itself was drawing lines through space. Hundreds of alien vessels tried to dodge, tried to shield, tried to run. But there was no escape. The first wave of Council ships vanished in fire. No pieces, no signals, just light, and then nothing. The Obsidian Dawn led the charge, its dark body slicing through orbit like a blade. It moved faster than the Council's tracking systems could handle. It didn't need shields. It didn't need warnings. It simply destroyed. Inside the command ship, Elena stood at the center of the control deck, arms crossed behind her back, her voice steady. "Target only the ones who fire. If they run, let them." Silek stood at her side. He no longer felt fear. What he felt now was something heavier. Awe. "You had this power all along?" he asked. Elena didn't look at him. "We never wanted to use it. The battle in orbit didn't last long. Alien fleets were fast, but human weapons were faster. Alien minds were sharp, but human minds had learned war through pain, sacrifice, and imagination. Each move from the enemy was predicted, countered, crushed. And yet, not all aliens chose war. As the second wave of Council ships arrived, they stopped outside Earth's range. They watched what was happening. They listened to the signals. And they remembered. On one of those ships, an elder general looked into his screen and saw the message blinking again. "We are awake. We will not be hunted. We will not be forgotten." He turned to his crew. "Pull back. They're not monsters. They're warning us." Across space, many ships powered down their weapons. Some turned around, others sent messages of surrender. The smart ones understood the truth. Humans had not returned to conquer. They had returned to be remembered. Back on Earth, the skies cleared. Human warships now held position above the planet, their lights glowing like stars. They didn't chase the survivors. They didn't speak threats. They waited. Elena stepped outside the Obsidian Dawn's bridge. The cold air hit her face as she looked down at the blue world below. Silak stood beside her. "What now?" he asked. She looked out into the stars. "Now we build again," she said. "Not just for us, but for all those who forgot what we are capable of." Silak nodded. "The galaxy will never look at humans the same way again." "Good," Elena replied. They were starting to treat us like myths, bedtime stories, ghosts. It's time they remember we are real. Deep underground, more humans continued to wake. Some cried, some saluted, some stood in silence as they saw the sky. The nightmare they were forced into was finally over, but Elena knew this was only the beginning. Across the galaxy, political leaders argued. Citizens panicked. Some called for peace, others for revenge. But none dared send another ship, because every species now knew Earth is awake. Humans are watching, and next time they might not show mercy.